Feeling that.
Just making sure this sector not way too hard one time, and everyone was like, their papers were going up first.
Okay.
Okay, we're live, we're good?
Yes, how do any one of you YouTube gurus know how to mute this?
Wait a minute, we usually, I feel like YouTube, we typically just,
No, it is muted, I guess.
there's less like a weird time lapse that's trippy. I feel like we are usually just on Zoom and then later it is
Yes,
uploaded.
I think that's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Really, I thought we live streamed on YouTube as well.
I don't think so.
I think it-
Maybe that's just town meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
instructions here say
And the school board, I think maybe does.
So is that recording now, Karen?
it's recording and
Okay.
it's live streaming.
Just checking.
Perfect. All right. Welcome everyone to tonight's select board meeting. It is Monday, July 14th. I'm Sabrina Dunlap and we have Vicky Bram, Alyssa McCann, and Jeff Donahoe, and Stephen Whitley cannot make it tonight. So first up is points of pride. Do you have any?
Well, only you do yours first.
I can't remember when did we last meet. Is it post, did we meet? Yes, July 4th. We
Yeah,
have
that
not
was
talked since then.
Big
There's a
July 4th.
bunch related to that. Okay, I won't steal that thunder. So I
No, that was your bad.
Oh, it's just thanking everyone who helped put together the July 4th festivities in town. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has.
I do. I have to pull
Okay.
it up on my phone though. I
Okay.
apologize. It's not about July 4th though.
That's okay.
I just need to find where it is. It was, in general, I had a really good time visiting the Kindness in Hopkinton exhibit at the Historical Society. And I guess I can just summarize by saying there was a lovely wealth of information they put together. I think they said it had over 140 submissions, so I didn't get a chance to read them all. But one of the ones that really struck me was the fire chief submitted a story about kindness in New Hampshire, and there's a picture of him that was actually in the Hopkinton News also, but they sampled it, but it's of him holding his folder of thank you notes that he's gotten from members of the community. And he said a lot of kind words about what it's a special place is to work here. So it's really nice to read about, and many other stories that are worth reading at the exhibit.
Mhm.
You stole mine. I was going to give a huge shout out to the Historical Society for the same thing. It is just so amazing to read so many stories by such a variety of folks across the town and across such a large swath of the history of the town, both present and past. And to what Sabrina said, a huge thank you to everyone that put on the 4th of July celebration in the center of town. I mean, I don't think I've seen a get together that large outside of, I don't know, it was a lot of people and it was really, really lovely. And the kids' parade was fantastic and their little bikes, and it was so good this year.
It was definitely a lot of people because we ran out of freeze pops before the bridge.
Whoa.
And I had 250 freeze pops.
The Legion sold over a combined 400 hamburgers and hot dogs, which is phenomenal.
My little shout out was to Kara Johnson. So after we had our meeting on June 30th for the abatements, she cranked out about 50 letters the next day and got them in the mail, which took a heroic effort from her. So,
Thank you, Kara.
yay, Kara.
Okay. So we've got the drawing for the Hopkinton Fair parking lotto at this point. So usually we have like a little guide about like what the parking slots are? Is that, okay, I did not think when we talked to the,
Every organization doesn't request every day.
right,
So some organizations only want Friday or Saturday. Some organizations want.
we can pause this and
Let me-
go ahead with our,
Right, okay. So there's a matrix or something?
I don't remember how, it's not complicated, but it's some like, you can only win one slot, and yeah, not everyone wants the same time slots. And Now I can't remember what exactly they are.
Well, they're Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
There's one a day, right?
Thought there was two sides of the parking, though.
No, we only have one. Town only has one. High school has the other one.
That's fine.
You know, I was like, okay, thank you.
So it's really just figuring out if people, did certain groups only request certain times or did most do?
Most did every day. There are about three, I think, 3 or 4 that had not every day.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
No, that's okay. I didn't think of that when we talked the other day.
We are learning together.
So why don't we just pause that so we don't wait too long on our public appointment and we can come
Okay.
back to the lotto.
Okay.
If you want to slide those down here, I'll summarize them real.
May I say something? In poking around last year's drive documents, the June 24th has the fair parking procedure.
Oh. Okay, nice. And did that give us?
Let's open it up. Background process. Let's see.
Just add your.
Okay, yeah, I think it's exactly the matrix that you were envisioning. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or whatever, you know, with all the groups listed on the x-axis. It looks like Jeff got it. Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, why don't we breeze through the administrative and then we'll do our public appointment. Okay, so first up is approval of the consent agenda.
We approve the consent agenda of July 14th, 2025 as presented.
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
I,
Approval of public meeting minutes from June 23rd, 2025.
Was I here? I think I was out.
Reminds me, are you doing our minutes, Karen?
I'm not, I'm doing your non-public. The
So,
rest of them have been done from recordings.
but are you doing that post?
Beverly is.
Beverly is, okay.
Beverly
Gotcha.
is.
Okay,
Kara has been doing.
okay, good, thank you. All right, well, I'll make a motion that we approve the public meeting minutes from the 23rd.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
I,
Okay, approval of public meeting minutes from June 30th, 2025.
I move that we approve the meeting minutes from June 30th, 2025.
That was the abatement.
Mhm,
And the community power
right,
REIT update.
yeah. Okay, Alyssa, did you second that, Jeff?
I think I did.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and we have one non-public from June 23rd, 2025, and those are not sealed. Jeff was not there.
I move that we approve the non-public session 1 minutes from June 23rd, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
I,
Abstain.
Right. So that brings us to our public appointment with Michelle. Is it Cedillo?
Yes, perfect. Okay, sorry. First and foremost, sorry for standing you all up last time.
No,
Didn't
that's-
realize I was on the agenda.
it's okay.
It's nice to meet you, Karen. Welcome. Okay, so if you recall, the last time we had a conversation, we were talking about the establishment of a committee, and what we tried to do is allow for enough time to hear back from the working group that I believe recently met for the first time, just haven't had the opportunity to officially recognize who they want to invite to that group. If that's not ringing a bell, it's the working group that Stephen mentioned last time that is working on some key initiatives around the town.
Yeah, it's a subcommittee for one else of the EDC.
Correct, yes. So we're still waiting to hear back on what's the word there. Byron did go to their last meeting to represent us, or maybe just have a listening ear since he was also on the list of potential participants. And I think we're gonna await their meeting of this month to see what's the outcome. So for today's conversation, I'm not going to explicitly push on or rather the request of establishing a formal committee, because I still want to see that pan out and figure out if this initiative is an extension of that working group or if it requires independent attention, if you will, by the creation of a committee. But I did want to follow up on some of the things that I sent in my email, which I'm going to assume most of you all have had the opportunity to read. It was quite lengthy. I apologize. So in that email, for those who obviously did not get it, both in the audience as well as online, I recapped a couple of things that we were tasked with seeking more information of before we spoke, I think, so matter-of-factly about changing some of these things. I am representing Friends of the Riverway Park, which is kind of like a grassroots little group in town that I think is on a mission to see a little bit more out of Riverway Park, just because due to tragedy of the commons, everyone loves the park, but no one, I think, is attached to attending to it. So there isn't a ton of infrastructure or leadership around what can be done in maximizing our town's resources. So with that, the last time we spoke, I asked about, or rather we asked about certain things related to the DPW, a public arts exhibition slash maybe program hosted at the park. And we also talked about really small, low-hanging fruit that could potentially be explored with ancillary organizations that are in town, like the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts. That being said, I'm going to start from the very top, just recapping what the DPW was in support of, and then exploring permission to either move some initiatives along or seek additional information in order to get these things done. So we went to the DPW to ask for support in relocating the benches, exploring public art installations, the ability to explore semi-permanent / permanent picnic tables, and leveraging the, I believe, existing river permit for any considerations around site leveling as an effort to increase accessibility to the gully of the river. And we also, okay, actually, I'm going to stop there. So for follow-up, the first question would be, we spoke to DPW about the relocating of benches. They kind of said, we're gonna put them out anywhere right now, but they're movable. So with that said, with the relocating of benches, it does sound like it's just kind of like a DPW jurisdiction kind of thing. I guess I'm posing the question to you all of, if in fact we can agree or come to a common agreement of where these benches should go, does it fall within the purview of the DPW or does it fall within the purview of the select board?
Remind me what benches we're talking about.
Talking about the memorial benches made out of granite.
Oh. So those are not out at all right now.
Correct. They used to be,
Who is like behind them?
I believe, DPW.
But I
And
know-
I heard the story, at least.
You know, I think some people donated them along the years. And as I recall, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a concern for DPW in terms of mowing around them.
Right.
Whether they're in the way of whatever they're doing down there. And that's, I think, why we encourage you to talk to them.
Right.
And I certainly haven't talked to Dan about it myself. You know, I try never to tick off Dan and his team about anything. But I mean, I think we'll need to get his input directly on the.
Who did you talk to?
I believe Byron spoke to Dan. And I'd have to look at the explicit notes of my email, but it seems like the outcome of that conversation was, in fact, they do get in the way. But if we were able to work with them to find a happy home, are we allowed to just work directly with the DPW to put those out? Or is that like placement and what have you fall under the jurisdiction of select board? I only ask so I can make sure if in fact they're okay with putting them in certain areas, I clear it with them, and then we come back and we say, benches, what do you think?
My impression as to the limits of our power is that we work with Karen, who then oversees the departments. And so we wouldn't necessarily directly manage the placement of benches within the park if that fell within the DPW's purview. Right, versus us like directly trying to manage the placement of benches that fall within another department's purview and don't necessarily require what we bring to the table.
How many benches are we talking about?
Ooh, that's tough. I think maybe like, don't quote me, but my memory, I think there's like 4. I think there's like 4 or 5.
Okay.
I think there's 4.
3.
Have you
They
talked,
used to be
Karen, have
that.
you talked to Dan
3. Yeah, it's a low number. Yeah,
about this?
I
directly?
have had conversations with a couple of people, I think, Dan possibly being one of them. There were 2 things that were my takeaways. One was a plan, that there was going to be a plan sort of, and that was going to dictate the placement of things.
yes,
And the second concern was these are really heavy benches.
sure.
And they need to have concrete pads, I believe, as well.
Oh,
That
that's
complicates
new.
things.
Um,
Okay, so
So-
I think we might need to have an additional conversation
Okay,
with Dan to understand the logistics.
of putting them
Because
out
if
there. Yeah, that's
they're
fine.
super heavy and they require a pad, that seems to make it a little more involved than.
Yeah,
than
Yeah,
just
but
really-
I think that also in the long term helps Dan because they're gonna be a pad. It's not gonna be mowed under or around it.
Yep.
It's gonna have its own sort of
Yeah,
bubble. And that'll make it easier for his guys, I think, but we've got to figure out how much the pads are gonna cost and how many, and
sure.
it's 4 or 5, 3 or 4 or 5 now, but what about the future if there's gonna be, more donations,
Mhm.
Okay,
I do think though we can empower Dan if he has it within his budget and his time to work on what we have now. I know these are gonna be like, no, but like he can say yes or no. I wouldn't want to micromanage him on it.
just thinking about everything he's dealt with in the last 6 weeks in terms of flooding and road rebuilding. I don't think he has a budget until 2030.
That's fair. That is fair.
Also, I'm like not grasping the history, like. Is this a recent thing that these were donated? Do we know? Like, I just don't remember ever
You
talking.
don't remember them being out there? So when I was doing the farmer's market, we had to set up our tents around them because they were granite benches in random places in the park. I'm not sure when they got taken. They probably got taken down when they redid the grass and the fencing,
Okay,
but they were there previously.
So they weren't on cement plinths.
no,
No. So by the river.
That was part of the concern, I think, was that there was no set, where should they be? They got donated, as you got dropped somewhere, and I'm not sure that dance people were involved at all. Whoever donated them just put them where they thought they should be, but there was a good view of the river. And so that was, that's part of the issue I think that Byron raised at the time, was that there's not a real plan, it's just
Haphazard.
throw it somewhere and let somebody else worry about if it's the right place.
right.
I was gonna say that there are what looks like previous pads over by the river. So if you are on the river walkway, like to go down to the boat launch, there are, I believe, on the left-hand side, a couple different large stones that would have previously been able to hold benches there, probably before our time.
Okay,
And I only know this because my 5-year-old found them all and then was like, what are these? And I was like, I really like what I think these are is like, they look like they're positioned for benches to hold them there.
okay, so what I'm hearing is there's still more follow-up to be done, and that's okay. I was hopeful that we'd find resolution, but of course, there's a lot to investigate. So I think what we're gonna do is let us, and actually, if you don't mind, I'm gonna take 2 steps back, because I think part of why benches or whatever the conversation may be, is that I think Byron's initial vision, if you will, is that for the park, there is a lack of vision of where things should go. And infrastructure. So this is something that for next round, given talking to DPW, whether it's under the working group or a formal petition to create a committee, truly at the crux of that is working together to come up with some sort of plan for infrastructure for the park, whether it's we're just talking about benches, or we're potentially talking about whatever may come to the park as an opportunities or as picnic table or whatever the infrastructure may be. So there's plan. So you don't have what wasted resources and putting benches out there, then taking them away and now spending lovely critical hours right now discussing where did they go and can we put them back. So I'll put that on the back burner to revisit, but
It's just a follow-up
Yeah.
question. And I could have misunderstood from our last conversation. But I did think that one of the things that you and Byron were gonna work on was like, okay, here's where actually we think the benches go. Not just
Right.
the idea of like who has, like ignoring for a second who has jurisdiction, but just saying like, this is where we think they go to work with the existing things that we have.
right.
Because I think when we are talking in the concrete versus the abstract, and we're
Mhm.
saying, okay, here's what we think, like where these current things should go, it's much easier to have the conversation
Sure.
than just the idea of like who should be involved in the conversation, because I think if anyone came up with a plan, people would be like, cool, that's super great.
Okay, sounds good. And I'm picking up what you're putting down. I think that has also kind of been the murkiness that we've been navigating of figuring out ownership, who's responsible, who just needs to be informed as we navigate the proposal of a master plan. So if you still feel like by the end of the conversation of today, you're like, what did we accomplish with Friends of the Woodbury Park? I want you all to at least just like humor me as we try to navigate like what needs to get done in order to formally put something in front of you all that's like, this is the plan. And remember, we had these conversations that ended up getting us to this, last stage of proposal. So, but good
I
point.
think there is also like, I sort of disagree with this notion that there's like a lack of vision around infrastructure, because I said this last time, but I think, and I don't think I'm alone in this, that like the space is good as it is.
Mhm.
So obviously we should be taking care of it, but it's not like it's some like junkyard sitting there that like the town hasn't made
Sure.
good use of.
Yeah.
And so like I was at the farmer's market the other day talking to people and asked them their thoughts, and they were like, we love it the way it is. Why would you mess around with this? So I just want to like put that sort of fundamental, I don't know if it's a disagreement, but like different viewpoint on it.
Definitely.
Because I look at some of this and I'm like, I don't think we need to be doing this to this space that's already great as it is.
Yeah.
So I would take issue, and I would say that directly to Byron too, but I don't think there's like a lack of vision. I think we disagree on like what that vision should be.
That's fair. You know what? That's totally fair. And I think you've expressed those sentiments last time as well, which I think, if I think I don't even know how this stuff works, but I don't know if like, what do you do in those situations, right? Is it a stalemate? Do you go to a ballot? I don't know, right? And I don't know if it's a petition process or whatever, but going through this, whatever this is, I think is part of navigating that. So, whatever you all think you all need in order to feel either resolved or like you have enough data to suggest, okay, we can make decisions that at least alter the status quo. By all means, like, please feel free to present those so I can go get that. Whatever the outcome may be is ultimately not up to me, it's up to the town residents, right? So, but point taken. Okay, the second item was exploring public art installations with secure mounting. DPW is actually pretty receptive to this as long as the mounting was pretty secure. Like things like zip ties, no, but probably like metallic cabling or something that could be attached to the fencing. I contacted the town of Meredith to see what they've done with their sculpture walk. And we created kind of a loose plan that I may or may not have attached to that email so you all kind of see what we were thinking. Again, it's just the art of the possible. It's not necessarily like a plan that we want to execute tomorrow. That being said, though, I wanted also to have a conversation about in the event that we can plan a public art exhibition, installation, whatever you want to call it, what are the steps to navigate that? Would we bring it to you in a comprehensive plan and then, you know, just seek approval here? Would we solicit petition signatures? Because I think possibility is there, like feasibility is there, desirability likely there. I can't see a ton of people. I'm not a proponent of public art. That being said, though, permission maybe is not necessarily there. So in order to move that work stream along, what else do you all require? Is it? But what, yeah, it's actually just open the floor.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this a little bit last time that I brought up concerns around, like, I think we would need like some sort of policy around how we host and treat public art, because you do get
Okay.
into all sorts of First Amendment issues and like around, there's issues just around liability and like if there's vandalism, what do you do? I know like I don't have the exact details, but in Littleton, they had like a giant banana that was a piece of art stolen. And so then like the whole town was looking for this banana. You can look it up. It was a recent story.
I will be Googling that. Thank you for
Yeah,
that.
it was, yeah, I read about it in multiple
Banana.
places. And so it's like, you know, it just, I support art and, you know, public art, but I do think it raises concerns for the town as like the host of the art. It
Sure.
just has complicating, you know, factors we have to think about. So
Right.
I think we would probably need to discuss sort of the concept as a board. Because then you start thinking about other places in town where people want to do public art. And so I think if we have guardrails or like policies so we can be fair and consistent, that would be like step one for us probably.
Okay, yeah, and I think, you know, there's also various ways to go about this. I think one, it's like setting up the infrastructure to be able to do this, whether it's town-wide or like hyper central located in an area, which is similar to what Meredith does. They have an entire board full of volunteers that manage this. So it's definitely not, one, done in a siloed vacuum, but two, with that said, it's not also done by just one person because it is a huge undertaking. So with that said, that sounds good. Is that something that I should send beforehand so you all can, sorry, I still don't know the dynamics of your meeting cadence, but I imagine you all meet internally as well. No, everything is public. Okay, so if you all review something, however, you all are allowed to review things individually.
Yes, you could email us.
Okay, perfect. So I will send what we have working now. And I welcome you all to at least just send me feedback. Like, hey, you're missing this, you're missing that. If you have time, of course, just because I think it tightens the loop here, so we can spend this time talking about additional items instead.
As you've been speaking, or when you reached out to the town of Meredith,
Mhm.
did they mention what budget, if any, they put aside towards their public art initiative?
You know, I didn't ask about that. I'll ask and see if it's something that's funded by the town. I honestly, I think it might be because it is, which is not something, it's not something I am suggesting we do. All I'm saying is I think it might be because it is something that is really important to them and it's front and center for the town. When you come in, they've got, it's like a whole thing for them. And obviously there's legacy involved there, which is why I think they might support it financially, but don't misquote me. That's information.
100%. That would be lovely to know that alongside that.
Mhm.
And to understand if any of it is funded by the town, what that funding goes towards.
Right.
Because as you know, cost sensitive. And we would want any initiative or committees, if we did approve them, to have zero impact on the budget in the current state of things.
Okay, sounds good. Yes, I will seek that out and attach it with the proposal. Okay, so I want to make sure that I don't spend a whole hour. So I'll try to wrap things up in the next 5 to 10. So the next thing was, or rather the last two things was related to back to relocating benches. So the potential for semi-permanent / permanent picnic tables using and also leveraging the river permit for site leveling. So this is two things that I think bring up much larger conversation. So for the sake of keeping things short, I just want to know how to move things along because clearly there are still things that need to be answered. But the first is, given that we're able to either through method of donation or through private purchase, whatever, not through the town, but someone who wants to make the donation of picnic tables that can be hosted along the riverbank. Because I think part of, again, the vision that I had previously mentioned, it's about also just keeping, I would say Riverway Park, despite being not a huge park, is still quite vast because there's not a ton that's like affecting the middle area. I think part of the vision is to make sure we keep that open in order to host things like the July 4th. But I think one thing we can all say is there's definitely lack of seating, and that's something that we've tried to explore with this master plan. So in the event that we could find means and ways to be able to have picnic tables, where we're looking is along the river bank, as well as maybe in areas that are not obtrusive to the middle functioning area of the park. How do we put that? How could we explore putting something like that in motion? Do we need to come with, hey, we've got the person who wants to donate, we've got the person who wants to install it. Or is it just a matter of, let's actually have a conversation if this is even permissible? Because I wouldn't want to knock on doors, right? If we really can't deliver on putting something out there like that.
May I suggest grouping it with the benches conversation?
Okay,
Say here are permanent seating options. Or
okay,
semi-permanent or seasonal or whatever they.
Sure.
Right, some permanent benches, some non-permanent or seasonal picnic tables.
yep,
Because I think that we would want to look at what is the totality of what is being added to the park. And I
Okay.
would even break it apart and do the public art conversation on one side
okay,
and the conversation around permanent and semi-permanent seating on the other.
sure, okay, that makes sense.
Because with that, the seating, I don't think you should go out and knock on doors yet.
Right,
I don't think we need to know that you have someone lined up.
okay.
I think we should see like, here's the totality of what you're proposing adding to the park.
Mhm.
What does that look like? I personally would want to know that the people managing the farmer's market have signed off on it, DPW has signed off on it. Like the folks that use it the most, right? Who plan the events that we all love to go to.
Mhm.
And then separate from that, then we could have that conversation around public art and what does that look like? Because that is more of a setting up policies and what have you versus like getting seating in place.
Okay, so, all right, and then you brought up a good
Of
point.
course, anyone should push back or disagree with me if you feel otherwise. I'm just like something that's super tangible, like people having a place to sit. That sounds lovely to me. As long as we're not doing anything to the riverbanks or anything that gets us in trouble or causes
That's it.
issues.
That's the piece that we need to pay attention to because there's a 50-foot setback, as far as I know, from the river that you can't do anything. You can't.
Which department did you talk to learn more about that?
I just looked it up.
Oh, you just looked it up. I love that. No, but I felt like when the DPW was planning on trimming back, or sorry, when Maple Row Management helped trim back the plants, they
Mhm.
spoke with a state level department to get approval because of the changes to the bank. And I'm trying to remember the acronym for that department and it is not.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, Department of Environmental Services.
There we go.
Berlin Water Quality Protection Act.
Mhm.
And so we'd want to know that we're not in violation of any of those things on the tangible side of putting picnic benches in.
Sure, okay,
Then the cool thing is like, if and when we sign off, then you can go running with looking for donations and figuring that out. And what would happen is it would have to be a donation to the town. And it should come with a maintenance plan.
okay,
What we have discovered is that donations to the town often don't come with a maintenance plan, and then we're
Sure.
stuck with a cost or an issue or a risk further down the line
okay,
when that piece of donation deteriorates as things do over time.
sure, yeah, definitely, okay.
And again, if I misspoke, please.
No, that's fine. I don't want Michelle to get caught in a feedback loop. So I think if we're relatively sure that the next step, as Lisa's a question for Dan, is about concrete pads, then Karen should ask that question. And then if we want a specific plan for where these 4 or ish benches should go, then maybe Michelle sends that to Karen. And then when we have both of those things, we come back. Because I just feel like the order of operations is unclear. And I don't want these benches that were donated to languish indefinitely.
Mhm.
And you know, in general, people obviously need to sit down in the hot sun and it's nice to have the benches, but I get it. We don't want them placed haphazardly,
Sure,
but we want to honor the donation and give people, you know, appropriate seating that doesn't mess with the 50-foot setback. So does that sound right, at least in terms of the granite benches? That if you can send what you and Byron, of course, consider to be like the most optimal visual and, beautiful way to place the benches.
Yeah,
And then the only other thing is though, if we have to follow the 50-foot setback, I don't necessarily want Michelle to have to go down a rabbit hole inside of DES to confirm that. So
And
it's,
I will add to that.
yeah, please go ahead.
Planning board is considering instituting wetland setbacks as well, which could be 75 feet or more.
Our planning board.
I'm gonna put an asterisk on that and ask you about it under board updates.
okay, yeah, and I appreciate that, Vicky. I think it makes the line of sight, I think, a little clearer. For me at least, to be able to, and Karen, I know that this is the first time that you're probably hearing about this, but it has been a little bit, I think what I'm navigating right now is figuring out what is the navigation, because I think for something so grassroots, it's a little unclear how to do it. So, okay, that sounds good. I will be in contact with you, and I will also be in contact with just making sure that at least you have some sort of visibility in the communication that I've had with other individuals. So, for example, if things are starting to look really great, but we haven't had conversations with the director of the farmers market, we're clearly missing something. So I'll make sure to loop you in to whatever conversations happen there, and we can work closely together to do that.
Michelle, can I ask you another question?
Yes.
Have you heard yet from the subcommittee? I see in your email that, you had been asked about potentially joining, but that you hadn't heard anything.
No. Yeah, and that's what, sorry if that wasn't clear in my opening spiel, but yeah, I haven't heard from them. Byron thinks that we'll hear from them this month after they have this month's meeting, because I don't think they got to the topic of membership at the last conversation that they had.
I'm just putting it on my follow-up to
Okay,
help close that.
okay.
Can I please ask for a quick reminder about the nature of the subcommittee?
The Economic Development Committee is forming a Kentucky-specific subcommittee because of the upcoming road work on the state master plan that is intended to focus on Kentucky Village, advocating with the State Department about the road work and making sure it serves the needs of the community. And I believe at the last meeting that Michelle was at, where we talked about all this, Stephen felt that Riverway Park was kind of a part of that conversation, and rather than having dueling conversations, it would be a part of that. And I believe that work is slated for 2030, but I could be pulling these numbers
Yeah.
out from nowhere.
Okay, got it. But some of the stuff we can accomplish before 2030.
And Vicky, I think
These donated benches.
Or Stephen was saying that the idea of a long-term master plan in which there are policies and procedures for how to make changes in the park is more what he was referencing, not the immediate needs around putting benches back, exploring picnic tables. Like,
Okay,
I do not see those things as like the same.
okay. Well, I think potentially, and I think that's why I'm like, maybe I should just go. I think that's why I'm eager to see what they want, but also you shouldn't go to a party you're not invited to, just in case.
Oh, I roll a binder. I guess I'm a very practical person. So I'm like, if there are benches sitting somewhere that were intended to be there and we can put them there,
Yeah,
let's just put them there. Let's not wait for a master plan that encompasses things that may or may not ever be approved by the town. Let's just.
Right, but if they're like 700 pounds and they're gonna be in DPW's way, that's why we need to make sure.
All that part, yes, but I'm saying the part of like, I wouldn't hold back on having a policy for public art in place or the
Right.
plan of the subcommittee to put the benches back in a reasonable place.
okay,
That feels like we're being way too bureaucratic, if that's where we're at. Where we're like, we must have the 10-year master plan.
No, I don't think,
Yeah.
yeah, I think we're all on the same page on that.
And also, and I think you were paraphrasing, but it says in your email that feedback from DPW is that they will place the benches at their discretion for now, but they can be moved once there's a plan. So it sounds like they're willing to see the plan and figure out if it's feasible.
correct. And also in like lieu of like the last 6 weeks, as Jeffrey mentioned, I think when we last had the conversation, they're like, yeah, well, I guess we'll put them out eventually. And then, of course, other things take priority as things do. And I think it's just like I think it's just like last on their list.
Mhm.
So there's no urgency to put them out, especially because I think, like Sabrina said, they're 700 pounds, I bet. So they definitely want to be sure about at least whatever they put it. So
Yeah, I think there was some concern expressed about moving them. So if you're using, picking them up with heavy equipment or something and potentially them getting damaged, that was, that-
Where are they right now? Do we know?
I suspect they're in the barn.
Yeah, that was where somebody else thought it might be. The second piece was, and it flew out of my head, didn't it? Okay,
okay.
sorry about that.
No, that's all right. Thank you. I think I've exhausted everything that I wanted to at least follow up on. I think it's clear like what I think needs to follow up with additional information and just line up with Karen and keep you all in the loop. So what I will do is, I think you're right, Alyssa, I've got to do two different work streams. One, we'll talk about exploring policy around hosting public art and seeing if there's capacity to develop that sort of structure, if you will, for the town. And then the second thing we can talk about is the seating, because I think in turn, it also affects the idea of a potential master plan, whatever that plan may be, because clearly where those things are placed will affect everything else. All right. I think the last thing that I just wanted to follow up on with my meeting was in the event that you all find that some of these processes or standard operating procedures, as we say in my corporate speak, that need to get like documented or developed, by all means, feel free to respond to my email and say like, hey, we'd love XYZ. It's like, it's no sweat off my back. And I think it helps at least establish some of these like murky waters for the town. And of course, Karen, any documentation was sent over to you. And if you want to host it on the website, by all means. Okay, any questions before I wrap up?
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Very
time.
much.
Thank you.
Sent you an article stolen.
Thank you. It was in the Boston Globe. That's amazing. I'm so excited.
Okay, do we,
Plan got stolen.
It's
I'm
bad.
so excited. to read
it was
Oh my
returned.
God.
Happy ending. Okay, so do we feel like we can do the fair parking?
I feel like we can.
All
It's
right,
gonna be easy because we have to remove different balls for every day of the week.
okay.
So, what are those? Are those numbered 1, 2,
Yeah, 13.
13? Okay. So, 4 and 7 are both from the American Legion. So 7's a duplicate, so please take the 7 out and let's get that out of the
Okay, good
list completely,
control, okay.
because they can only apply once.
They played.
Okay, so for Thursday,
So it's not too different. We're gonna, okay, just making sure we're not gonna like accidentally take someone out.
no, the Sons of the American Legion applied and the American Legion Auxiliary also applied. Those are 3 different organizations, but the Legion applied twice.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Sure. So we have to remove several balls for the Thursday drawing. So if you can remove 3, 4, and 5.
Thank you, Melissa.
Ready.
3, right, there's
Doing the one.
1. 3, okay,
And 8.
and 8. Yes. Okay,
13's not in that one, right?
13's in here.
7's.
7's out.
Seven's
Seven's out.
gone.
Yeah.
Good job.
in my bag.
All right, so I'm gonna read all of the numbers, so there's no confusion. 1 is the Sons of the American Legion, 2 is girls basketball, 3 is the Legion Auxiliary, 4 is the Legion, 5 is girls soccer, 6 is the ski team, 8 is boys soccer, 9 is HISA, 10 is Boy Scouts, 11 is lacrosse, 12 is Cub Scouts, and 13 is Girl Scouts. So if you pick one out, whoever that is gets Thursday.
And to confirm, we have removed 4, 3, 4, 5, and 8 from
That's
Thursday.
correct.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
What?
What did you first?
Okay, hold it up high so that there's no appearance of impropriety. Okay, ready? So excited.
Here we go.
10.
10 Boy Scouts.
Thursday, all right.
Now, once someone gets picked, does that mean they're out?
They're out, they can't get two.
So
They go in my bag.
out
I mean, I'll have them all back after this.
Okay.
Friday now.
So for Friday, 3 needs to stay out. And 8 needs to stay out. 4 and 5 can go back in.
Okay, 3 and 8 are out.
Will you hold the screen? I'll pick.
I would love to. I'm gonna have to work for it.
9.
Number 9, Heisa has Friday.
Hey, that's Heisa.
Let's see, only 8 stays out for Saturday. Everybody else wants Saturday because it's the best day.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'm strained to.
I didn't want to do that to you.
Number 1,
Okay.
the son of the Legion.
Oh, I.
And then Sunday, all that same group is in.
Okay. Wait, is 8 in on Sunday?
It is only Monday,
Oops, wow.
the only day they can do it. So they have practice, I think.
Okay, 8 is still out.
Yeah, you're teasing, right?
Yeah. You gotta go higher than that. You got. Thank you. Okay, I have number 6.
6, the ski team. That's for Sunday. And now 8 can go back in.
Yeah.
They've got their shot.
Vicky,
I'll hold it up to Karen. Ready?
2. Number 2, girls basketball. It's Monday.
yay. Thank you for putting that little chart together, Jeff.
Okay.
Thank you. And thanks to everyone who applied. We
Yeah.
have super successful fundraisers.
Okay. Do we have any old business?
I feel like we have a pile of old business and I was like gonna make a list this weekend and I ran out of time, so I'm gonna try to make a pile. Send it along to you. We had a lot of things, I feel like we said,
I know.
after Karen has started, but not so early that we scare her.
Yeah. I'm gonna go through the notes too. I feel like, yeah, okay.
Next,
Yeah. All right, so we'll move on to new business. First is the highway safety grant.
So I apologize. I'm not-
Sure.
This is, I believe, the police department has done this grant in the past. This is to address speeding, hands-free, all kinds of different, they're targeted kind of bribes
Thanks.
to make our roads safer.
Is this from the federal?
This is from the State Department of Safety.
Okay,
And the request is to authorize first to accept the highway safety grant for $13,700. And then to authorize myself to sign the related documents.
any concerns or discussion? All right, I will move that the select board accepts the terms of the highway safety grant as presented in the amount of $13,700, and that we authorize the town administrator, Karen Hamilton, to execute all documents related to the highway safety grant.
seconded.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Right. Do we need to do, no, we signed your,
Yeah, you also need to
Oh.
vote it. Was gonna do that in my administrator updates, but if you want to.
okay. This is a motion to exempt our town administrator from participating in the New Hampshire retirement system. That was something you had discussed with you.
Yes.
came on board.
Yeah.
Okay.
the New Hampshire retirement system needs this moved and voted on by the board so that I can do something different.
Gotcha. All right. I will move that the select board exempts the town administrator from participating in the New Hampshire retirement system per RSA 108-22 effective June 23rd, 2025.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. All right, that's the highway safety grant. All right, next is department one pagers.
That's me. That's my, that's my item. Okay, so. It might not serve the best interest of the discussion for you to actually open one of these at the moment.
Okay,
We're gonna have like a 10,000-foot discussion.
gotcha.
So, for those of you who might not know or remember, there are these summary one-pagers that were authored for each department and included with the budget from last year. Finance has one, planning has one, police, fire, they all made a one-pager. And it included sort of the why the department exists, what they do, what they tend to do, and then their objectives and why they do them, which included specific RSA citations, and then some service indicators. And it was meant to supplement the department's write-up in the town report, because that was a longstanding tradition. But due to a bunch of budget committee conversations and maybe some other factors, Neil went through a process of distilling some important statistics and qualitative data into these one-pagers per department, as said, to be included with the budget, like a supplement to the budget. And I think a lot of work went into them by the department heads, by Beverly and by Neil. But they may not have accomplished what was the hope for them. Because I think it was in response to a lot of requests from information from the budget committee. And after the most recent budget committee meeting, which was in May, the discussion was very it felt like a brainstorming session, and it had a lot to do with just different service levels and how they might be affected by different budget scenarios. So that's not really what these one-pagers were meant to accomplish. And so rather than trying to make a square peg fit into a round hole, I suggest that we push pause on updating them, because the amount of suggestions or changes or edits, it's not really feasible to try and make this thing work. And so it's not a surprise, perhaps, in conversing with Karen and Beverly, hindsight is 2020. These one-pagers were modeled on documents that Keene and Dover use in their budgeting process. But the examples that we were using are the end of the process. They aren't the beginning. And they're actually, in Keene and in Dover, informed by larger visioning and goals, not necessarily service indicators from where the rubber meets the road. So I suggest, with Karen's blessing, putting a pause on trying to force these into being workable for the budget committee, and then more holistic conversations as a group of the five of us, as we move into budget, about what we have from the town departments and whether or not we've got some connective threads that we can call our next year's goals or objectives. And we were throwing around some high level ideas, like for instance, continuing service at a certain level or promoting public safety. I mean, big things, not necessarily nitty gritty, but things that if you ask someone, why do we do this? You could say, because we've established that we care about this. As we know, budgets are value-based documents. However, the conversation at the budget committee, being as nuanced as it was, just made us take pause on like whether or not this is what we really want. What I do want is for the department heads to continue their excellent write-ups in the town report that they've always done. And maybe that is more the direction we go, or maybe this just needs to be revised. But so that's where we're at with this process.
It's helpful.
Just chime in and say there's a lot of useful information in these documents.
Absolutely.
So it's not, I don't think we should set them aside permanently.
I absolutely,
You're not suggesting that.
no, I absolutely agree. And there's a lot to be proud of in there, telling the story of how each department serves the town and interacts with the people. You're right. You're absolutely right. Thank you for saying that.
Would you see, so you mentioned that these documents are modeled on something that came at the end of the process.
Yes.
with Different towns. Would we see these potentially coming out at the end of our process and going into the annual report to give standardization to the information shared across the town?
Yeah, so I mean, yes, definitely. These are very standardized. I mean, Alyssa, can you just read the headings of the 3 sections? What does it say?
Major services and responsibilities,
Okay,
2025 departmental objectives and service indicators.
so yes, definitely. I think that, these are all related to the budget, and there's a process that we can hammer out in which we have a lot of good information, a new budget coming at us, and use these to inform our discussions with the department heads moving into budget season. Have we ever had a joint meeting with the budget committee, like how we have a joint meeting with the school board?
Not in my time.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Not in my time.
Maybe you guys could just let that idea marinate, because there are, I think there are merits to not having a game of telephone from time to time, but also that might not be appropriate. So, it's just food for thought.
Yeah.
We meet a heck of a lot in the winter time, so we could just pick any one of those. And I'm sure they'd be happy to have us.
We always had Ken Trump to present our piece, so we didn't have to do it.
Exactly, and I'm happy to be that person. It's just, I'm sure there's a good reason why at least once a year we have our joint meeting with the school board, and maybe the budget committee we could just be a little bit more proactive with, I don't know how to describe it, but with like visioning, goals, objectives, and how they inform the budget versus starting at like the service level and working our way up. For just to keep everybody on the same page about why we do the things we do, because a lot of the discussion at the budget committee was, why do we have a second ambulance, or what does it mean when we assist another town? Questions that I'm sure there are folks who have excellent answers to, but I certainly don't.
Okay, this is helpful.
Thank you. And again, I just want to say that the hard work that went into these is appreciated, and the details on the one pagers are very interesting,
Mhm.
to dig into.
Was when these were presented to the budget committee, were departmental objectives placed next to any of the line items in the presented budgets? Like, was there a connection made between? Because to the question about like the second ambulance, I would guess that it's under the Assure Adequate Emergency Response Services, right? And they could.
Yes, and there are
include, like-
standards for that.
Yeah, like, and they could include reasoning as to why XYZ, but I do wonder about taking the numbers and then connecting them back. As with in the nonprofit world, annual planning, right, where you sit down and you say, here's our vision for the year and here's what we're going to accomplish. And here's what that looks like. And here's how we're going to measure it. And then that does directly feed into your budget, and your budget, every single line item has to link back to your intended impact in some way, shape, or form. And it's not just about having select board priorities. It's about the departmental priorities reflecting the priorities of the town. And then what's being spent being associated back to that. So in my mind, if I was on the budget committee and someone was handing me an Excel spreadsheet, I would want to have some kind of shorthand next to each bucket, maybe not each individual item, but each large item or each like bucket saying, what is it supporting in my departmental objectives? And then it's our job to show how the departmental objectives link back up to our overall town objectives. Because if the departmental objectives don't link back to that, then they shouldn't be there. That makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, without knowing the work that goes into it, just looking at this budget, I can tell that we have the ability to make citations and notations under either sections or particular items. So if in the long run,
It's a lot of questions by the budget committee, because then they're able to link back to that and they can push on that. They can question that. They can say, is that actually a priority? But then they're given right up front, like, here's why I'm putting this money in.
right, yeah, and that.
Eating noodles, I'm really hungry.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, so I mean, yes, and I think that is the nature of the way that Keene and Dover do it, that engenders the report that we modeled off of. So yeah, so let's just put a pin in it and I will come back. I'm gonna talk more with Karen and Beverly. And I would love to like maybe come back again and put ourselves back on the agenda, and instead of calling it the one pagers, you know, maybe we call it like goal setting for budget 2026 or something like that.
I would very, very much enjoy a chance to step back with y'all and talk about what is it we're actually trying to accomplish other than just maintenance. Because it feels like we've been stuck in maintenance. And just kind of like shepherding everyone else. And not having like, it's been very reactive versus proactive. And I would love, even if they're a little bit hokey and very, very high level, for us just to draw our line in the sand. About what we want to be true or what we want to accomplish this year that isn't just what everyone brings to our table. That's all, which relates to, I think, to the.
Oh, yeah, I think that would be just. I think that.
But like a night where there isn't a lot of other things, so that it can be the meat of the conversation and we can.
And we have some time to think about this.
Correct. And a framework for how to address it that isn't just all of us tossing around ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love a good framework.
Mhm.
Big fan.
Okay. Thank you for that.
yeah, absolutely.
More to come.
Yeah, more to come, exactly.
All right. Are we good to move on from
Thank you, Vicky.
this under new business? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So that brings us to town administrator updates.
So, still getting my feet underneath, but we did do our first department head meeting last week, and that went very well. The one pager was the topic of conversation for the majority of the meeting, but I think there was some communication on how valuable these pieces of information are. And I think the department heads really want to see them used in some fashion. Putting all that effort into it, so. Sabrina had forwarded me a concern, concerning, parade safety. I'm working with, Parks and Recreation, with, the police chief and the fire chief to sort of just kind of look at that. I did find some online resources for guidelines for parades at other towns.
What's the issue?
It was not my concern.
No, no,
Just
this
passing it
came
along.
through Sabrina, sorry.
Yeah. You go.
I was just gonna say, it had to do with, children being around wheeled vehicles and the potential for an accident to happen very quickly. And someone to get hurt.
Kids running to get the candy and accidentally getting run over, basically is the gist. And the person had pulled the video, I think Bob Lepre had done and like marked the minute and. So I said I would bring it forward because it turns out I don't think we actually like have ever had a discussion around parades and. So,
And in talking with the fire chief this morning, you know, the seniors do a parade and he has some concerns on how that's evolved over the last 4 or 5 years. So
mm,
this is a good time to, you know, sit down and sort of, map some strategies out.
okay,
The other piece of information I have for you is, the cap at the landfill is cracked. Now, when Dan said that to me, I envisioned a concrete thing cracking, but this is an earthen cap. He's confident it can be an easy fix where they remove some of the dirt and put it back. I don't have a good visual for this for myself, so I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow.
It's basically like a giant tarp that they cover the mound with, and then they cover that with dirt. So it's not like the fabric may have split because of the rain.
Okay, so there is something, a fabric underneath.
Yeah,
Okay, again, I,
magnetic layer, I think they call it. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'll have good information for us. It's good to know.
it should not have happened and, we'll see what sort of costs are involved in fixing it, but I would think it would be somebody else's problem, not the town's.
Yeah, you mean like we might have some financial recourse if we have to pay out of pocket to fix it.
So. And that's what I have.
okay.
Okay, would you mind putting that in your next updates? You know what I mean? Will you tell us more in 2 weeks if you have more information?
About the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up is public forum. So if anyone wishes to speak, come on up.
Who you?
Hi, Catherine Mitchell, Boundtree Road. I have a few comments. The first one on Riverway Park. I'm kind of concerned. I have the sense that a small handful of people are pushing forward something that not everyone necessarily wants to see happen. Sabrina, I agree with your comments completely. I didn't run into you at the farmer's market, but I would have said the same thing. I like it just the way it is. A couple of benches and a couple of picnic tables are fine. I have concern about the river and the impact on the river if we start to put a lot of infrastructure in there. Certainly pads along the shore and a lot of picnic tables where when people eat, things will fly off and end up with litter in the river. I think it's just lovely just looking at the river. I like going to the farmer's market and watching the young kids do what my 2 boys used to do, you know, playing at the edge of the river and on the rocks. And I think we should leave it alone. Financially, I think it would just cost us money. I'm reminded of when the Slusser Center was built. It was a very generous gift by the Slusser family. And it's a lovely facility and I don't object to it, but I do remember that at the time, the town was assured that there would be fundraising and that the maintenance would be covered for the rest of its existence. And that never materialized and the town pays for it. Again, I don't object to that, but I think we need to be realistic. And if we move forward with things that are donated and given to us, we need to know who will ultimately be bearing that cost moving forward. And frankly, I think this is not a time to be spending money on things that we don't necessarily need to, because a lot of people are very concerned about taxes. One last point on the Riverway Park is that the natural resources inventory, which was commissioned by the Hopkinton Conservation Commission, the person that wrote it for us indicated 4 areas that are top priorities for conservation and where things should not be developed. And all of the land along the Kentucook River was on that list quite prominently. So I don't think it's a lovely site to have the farmer's market and the gazebo concerts and to have people just enjoy in its natural state. And I just did want to point out, Jeff, you mentioned the wetlands setbacks. I believe that had come initially from the Conservation Commission. It generally would not apply to lakes and rivers because the state has rules about those already. So those are my comments on the Riverway Park. And the only other thing I wanted to mention, and I brought this up a couple of years ago, I think, is the crosswalk that goes from Mr. Mike's across to the train depot. I had commented a while back that it needed to be repainted, and that was done. A couple of weeks ago, I was driving while I was sort of sitting at the stoplight near approaching Mr. Mike's. Anyway, I was driving and I saw a couple of girls, maybe 10 or 11, standing sort of at the edge of where the crosswalk would have been, if you could see it, but you can't, and cars were not stopping. Somebody finally did stop and they dashed across diagonally, not even in the crosswalk, because again, you can't really see it. And I was just really concerned about that. And I hope that we can get that painted again.
Yeah, thank you. That is kind of sometimes a scary spot to walk.
Yeah, it's tough to begin with, and having a crosswalk that you can see is really essential.
So I guess we would follow up with state would do that, right? Or do we do the brush paint? I don't remember. So it's
I
a
think
state.
it's the state's responsibility, but
Maybe we
I
can
will
follow up on
find out.
DOT on that. That
Yeah.
seems like it should be relatively
It's their road, but I think we may have painted it last time.
okay. All right, well, if we can, I'm sure they would allow us to paint it, I would hope.
Would they notice if we painted it? We can do it in a different color and or format.
One other thing on this topic, and is that the end of it? I don't want to like interrupt your comment.
And I was done, but
Okay.
I did forget one other minor point on the granite benches. It can be lovely to have a seat. I would just be concerned as to where they are put, because when I see a lot of children running around there at the farmer's market and other times, it occurred to me when she mentioned granite benches that if they're made square the way you often see them, that's a potential hazard if a child were to fall and hit the corner of one of those. So I think I'd be really careful about where I put them unless they're rounded granite benches.
They're not.
Thanks. They're not.
Thank you. Thanks for your comment.
Some dirt on it would be fine.
The crosswalk issue reminds me, okay, this is bringing to my mind a couple things. We have this highway safety committee that needs to meet, so I'm just putting that back out there. We have not met, so I'll follow up with you on that. But one of the things, and we do talk about like speed limits and sort of pedestrian safety, I would say quite a bit. But one thing that I feel like we haven't talked about in a while on the crosswalks is the little like signs that go right in the middle that have the little person. And I feel like we talked about that with Neil a while ago, but people were like running them over or something, which to me just demonstrates the need.
Yeah.
But that might just be something that we could, like, I don't know if we have any of those in town, but it seems like they might be useful to slow people down. And
I think we have any in town.
okay.
I think we might need the state's permission to put them on the state's road.
Mm.
I think part of the issue that they were getting run over was because tractor trailers can't make the turn because the intersection in Kentucky Village is so tight.
So they would.
And so if they were trying to go right coming down the hill toward Two Villages, for example, they couldn't turn hard enough to not hit that sign. That said, I'm sure Dan would have some input on that. I know that they're difficult for plowing. That would be a complicating factor for him in terms of plowing.
You also have to drive directly over that crosswalk to get into the depot parking lot.
Yep.
Well, maybe the other crosswalk that's by the bridge.
Chief Hennessy last quarter was gathering letters of support to apply for a grant for some additional wayfinding signage specific to crosswalks, I believe in Kentucky Village. Karen, is there any chance we mind following up with him to see if he was able? It's a runs on a quarterly basis. You can apply like each quarter for these things. And if there's anything we can do to help him.
Would it even if I could look back in the minutes?
No, it's like just on the side. He had reached out to a couple different organizations and businesses for letters of support. My business gave a letter of support, the EDC gave a letter of support, and he was doing it as an initiative to help with public safety. By trying not to use any of the town's money, but get a grant to help pay for things that would help down there. That wouldn't be permanent solutions because it was in recognition also of the fact that that entire intersection may look remarkably different in a couple of years, but that we have an immediate need right now for pedestrian safety.
Follow up.
Okay, we're still in public forum. Anyone online?
iPhone 4.
Okay. We'll close the public forum. Thank you for those who have shown up. All right, any board committee updates?
I have some. And then I have a question for you about the wetlands one, but housing committee. Oh, let's see. So the survey that the housing committee ran for approximately 6 weeks that was posted online and on our website. We now have the raw data back. And so the raw data has been scrubbed so that you can see folks' comments, but can't attribute them back to individuals. I think the data is really, 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 really worth looking at and reading over, not for immediate action, but rather like a couple hundred folks in our town took the time to fill this out and write in comments. And sure, a number of the comments are just the word taxes in all caps, and I respect that. But a lot of them are also very thoughtfully, thoroughly written out about their experiences and about the town. And so I would love to forward that on to all of you.
I want to read
And
it.
then
I'd love that.
Vicky, I would love it if you are comfortable sharing it with the budget committee.
Sure.
Again, there is no action from this. There's no like, read this and go do XYZ. It is rather to continue to inform the decisions we are making and how we are making them. The housing committee did give their sign off for me to share it more broadly and said that because there's no identifying information, there's no need.
Responses?
I feel like it was like 300 plus, but
Is it about 7?
yeah,
Could be wrong, but I think that was,
it's a big packet. Yeah.
and the word taxes. Getting too high was in there about 95%.
And so I would say, look for the ones that are a bit chunkier in their response and then read those, but like, I mean, and this
So
was
I have
about
a
like
question.
housing in Hopkinton.
Was there, besides free fields, free response fields, is there, I can't remember the survey, is there a lot of numbers and figures that came out of the data too?
So it is, the survey itself is about folks' aspirations for housing in
Okay,
Hopkinton and them guessing what things, like what choices they might have to make. Like, will they be staying? Will they be moving? Why is that? So it's really based in the emotional and what you might be doing as opposed to what you are doing, but it's a reflection as to the housing market here in Hopkinton.
yes,
And so, yes, there's a lot of like numbers-based data.
okay,
But I want to like preface that by saying it is numbers-based data around people's
aspirations.
personal opinions. There is some like raw data around like how long have people lived here, like demographics, things like that. But it really is about their perceptions of housing availability and their experiences and their perceptions of their neighbors' experiences in housing availability. So I'm just caching that to be like, hey, like this is not like. This is data based in people's like feelings and emotions, which is very valid, right? It's their lived experience. And I think it continues to hammer home that our priority needs to be wisely spending while continuing the services that make this place so lovely to live. So that's one. The other is that we had a member step down. So Craig Dunning has stepped down. And so we will need to fill that role. What I propose is the housing committee has a list of the types of roles that should be on it. I need to do a cross check as to like what space Craig would have, if there's a specific space he would have filled on that list. And I would like to post it to our town Facebook page. And I'd like to put it on the website saying that we have a committee opening. And my reasoning for this is I want us to build a stronger muscle on encouraging more folks to get involved in committees. So we can put a deadline of however long we want and say, like, if you are interested, like, please let us know. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't ask folks to throw their hat in the ring, but I just want to do more to get it out there so it's not just the same circles every time. Related to that, I'd like to propose a project where I would like to take an audit of our current committees, get them all the same kind of documentation that the housing committee has to the extent it can have it, right? In terms of like, what is its purpose? Like, what is it trying to do? Does it have a beginning, middle, and end, or is it infinite? So that well in advance of its time to reappoint everyone, we can put it out there and encourage more folks to get involved in our town. We know that there are spots that are either open or folks feel like they have to keep doing it because there's no one else to step in. And so I want to build a bit more of a rhythm of putting these things out there, educating folks and encouraging them to get involved in various committees. So I can draft like the beginning, middle, and end of this project. Karen, to be a lot of like cross-checking things with you to be like, does this look right? Does this seem right? And then bring it back here. Ultimately, my hope is that at the end of this, we would have a policy around committees and how we approach them, including things like how regularly we check on them or want to be meeting with them, when a committee should be disbanded, yada, yada, because I do feel like some things just kind of hang out there forever and they just become like dusty housekeeping items that we eventually have to tackle.
I like that idea if you're willing to take that on.
Yeah, it's not gonna be ready for the next meeting.
No,
But
So
it's,
It sounds like two different documents though, right? Like one is, these are people on all the committees and the openings, and then the other one is the committee policy, right?
well, that first document exists.
But it doesn't exist with inclusion of like the mission and the meeting schedule.
So that's what I want to document and make sure it's available on the website, because if you are someone getting interested in being involved in the town and you go to the various committee subpages on the website, you're not quite sure what, like, you can guess off their name and maybe you can go through their minutes or agendas and get a sense, but you're not quite sure like who, like, what is the type of experience that is helpful on this? Or is it simply an interest in being here? What is this committee trying to accomplish on the broadest sense? Not like this year, but in general, why does it exist? And I just want to make it accessible to folks. I think it's kind of in line with what Michelle's been telling us about her experiences and trying to access how to interact with the select board. So I would put us into that bucket as well. Though I think we might be a higher visibility. But when I was running, like, I had friends be like, I don't really understand what the select board does. And I was like, oh, let's talk about that. So I want to make sure that it is crystal clear.
So I'm on our town website and my quick count has 29 boards and committees.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're gonna,
This is what I'm auditing, yes.
okay, yeah, so I guess tell me again, are we gonna have two documents, one that kind of already exists, but it's gonna be better, and one that doesn't exist but will?
We are going to have two documents that do not currently exist.
Okay. That sounds great. And also, come to think of it, whatever that working group is that we referenced, or any other subcommittee, is
Correct.
probably not in this list.
It
But
needs
it's
to be
probably
available.
worthy of the audit.
Yeah. Yes, and we're gonna get a lot of things, like, we're gonna miss a lot of stuff in this first go around, but it's about building a way for us to have it transparent and shared and out there to encourage folks to participate and to gain knowledge about how to be a part of our town governance.
And also you're saying that there's a good reason, I mean, not a good reason, but that it's worth writing it down, like that these are the committees, this is their timeline, for lack of a better word, and maybe that spurs a conversation about whether or not to pick on anybody, but like the town records committee maybe has served its purpose. This is not to pick on the town records committee, but I'm just saying, like, is the ultimate goal that we review these to the point where we can say like, oh, they haven't met in 9 years.
That is the sub goal.
Okay.
If in this, we look at it and say this committee has become defunct, let's
Yes.
take the steps as a select board to retire it and
Yes.
get it off. And we could even have a like former committee section of the website, because people like history repeats itself. To be like, oh, we did that. That was a thing.
Yes, so the last minutes from the town records committee are from June 2019.
Excellent. Yeah,
All right.
so
Worked on
I
that.
will not take up more of your time with this, but just know like I will be asking for space on the agenda as I start putting stuff together for us to start looking at. Directionally, just to get cleaned up. And to Vicky's point, like the idea of the rhythms of the committees makes so much sense, because planning, budget, they have specific rhythms, but EDC and housing are on different journeys, right? And so some of these are about the calendar year and the yearly maintenance of the town, and some of these are about long-term aspirational things. And that isn't necessarily clear by the way we've named them.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, all right, love that, thank you.
Hang on, so if there's a new wetlands setback rule, does that mean, would that impact like existing infrastructure, or would it simply be for any new infrastructure coming in?
Infrastructure,
I don't know, just anything, if someone wanted to like put something near a wetlands, or they had something near a wetlands.
well, we can't make them take it out. It would be grandfathered if it's already
Okay.
there. But if there's an existing lot,
Mhm.
it would have to comply with the new wetland setback to be developed.
Well, why the change?
Conservation Commission thought it was a good idea to protect the wetlands.
Good reason.
We haven't decided to do it yet, but they made a presentation at the last planning board meeting.
There is a long list of many towns in the state, including many of the ones that's furthest that have had this 15 years or more.
Got it.
Kind of behind schedule, protecting wetlands, so that was the impetus.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other committees?
Open Space is meeting on Wednesday, so I don't have any
Okay.
updates for that yet, but
Who meets on Wednesday?
Open Space.
Nice.
Put that on my calendar stuff for that. All right. Good on committee updates. Does anyone have anything for other? Okay, great. We have 3 non-publics. And once we go into our non-publics, once we are done, we will adjourn and will not conduct any other business. So I will move that we go into non-public under RSA 91A32C and also E, reputation and legal. Roll call vote.
Yes.
I need the
Oh,
motion.
sorry.
Second, thank you. Vicky.
Yes.
I'm a yes.
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 Okay, we will go into non-public, and thank you to everyone who joined us tonight.